Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Aaron. How are you?
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome, everybody, to Hanging with Hero. We're very excited
Yes.
to have you join us. The last one before the holidays for
Yep.
next year. This is
Yep.
exciting. Good to see everyone. How are you doing, Jennifer?
Well, I was sick last week. I had like a weird
Yeah.
virus, so we had to push back. And then I went to Disney and I got back this afternoon and I have a fever and I feel like, I feel rough. I've got the chills. so I laid down and took a nap for a little bit, but I figured this is easy enough. We just sit here and talk. So I'm going to do my best. I took some medicine and I don't feel like I'm burning anymore. But I don't know what I
Yeah.
caught. Mike has a mask on because I don't want to get him sick. So,
Smart.
yeah.
I
How are you?
I got a flu shot. Otherwise, I'd be wearing a
Yeah.
mask too. No, we're in
Yeah.
different rooms, so.
Very
Um,
far apart.
yes, true. Well, I'm doing well. Transitioning to kind of the end of the year, which is where we have 50 years of
Yeah.
celebrations all year. It's been wonderful. We started hanging with Hero in April, and now we're rolling out the year with it. I see people mention this is the last episode. I'm not sure that's true. I think it might be something that Jennifer and I talk about and figure out a new format, a new direction, because hanging with Hero has been really exciting. It's been a ton of fun to hang out with you, Jennifer, and with all of you when we've done these episodes. And so I don't know. We'll see if we can fashion a new direction for Hanging
Yeah.
with Hero, which was really designed to celebrate Hero Art's 50 years and 50 years of crafting. And so it ties up very nicely in a bow and like a package
Yep.
to have, a closeout at the end of the year. But I think
Yep.
there's enough joy and magic here that we'll find a new way
Yeah.
and a new direction and continue to do these things.
And that's something we can ask people for feedback at the end of this because we'd like to
Yes.
keep sharing. I don't know if it's more about the history of, like, really focusing on the history of the industry or what, but I think there's more in us. Just maybe name something different.
Right.
Yep,
True. And we could keep the name too, but if people have
we could.
ideas, so we're going to come back to that. So think through that. What would you like to see?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we started this just you and me before we had crafty guests over the is it 20 episodes? This might be the 19th during the time
Close.
that we've done this, and it's been tons of fun. Let's kind of celebrate the holidays and celebrate the year and really maybe look back with this episode. You and I didn't finish when we had that first one where
No.
we were trying to go from the start 1974 up to the present, and I think we
Yep.
got to about 2008 2009.
True.
So tonight we can bring it the rest of the way. um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, before we do that, though, let me just say we had wonderful guests. We had tons
Yes.
of crafty friends who I think really illuminated so many parts of this industry. For
Yep.
me, hopefully for you too, it just was a wonderful journey to go through all of that. So let's touch on kind of this glorious industry that we're all a part of, participating in and contribute to, because I think that really is the spirit of how we started Hanging with Hero, why we
Yep.
wanted to celebrate 50 years for Hero Arts, and why we wanted to celebrate 50 years for the industry.
Somebody asked, did they miss the live with Hero or with Pink Fresh? I wasn't feeling good last week, and so we canceled it. But Kinnery is out of town on a long trip with family over the holidays, so that's something that we can make up later on. She is wise. She is a wise woman, so I
She
think we can learn
is.
a lot from talking to her. She is a good businesswoman, so with a big heart. So I think she could be. Maybe we can still have guests. We'll see. But yeah, you didn't miss that. We'll have to catch up on that one.
Yeah, for sure. and yeah, Kinnery again, a wonderful example of
Yeah.
this industry. Why it's so glorious is
Yep.
Kinnery and I met at a trade show. And again, in other industries, you probably wouldn't talk with your competitors right across the aisle from
Yeah.
a retailer trade show, and we became fast
Oh,
friends, and it was
I can't hear him.
kind of a
Hang on.
wonderful way.
Can you? I can't hear you anymore, Aaron. Hang on. Let me know if you all can hear Aaron.
Let me know if you can hear
Oh,
me.
there we are back.
Okay,
Now I can hear you again. Sorry.
sorry.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I was just saying that Kinnery and I just became friends. Again, competitors, no. Friends, yes. But in this industry, it's just the way it works. And she's insightful. Pink Fresh is a wonderful company, really
Oh
creative.
yeah.
And I think that is the joy of this industry, is that we love uh, kind of all being in this together. And that feeling, which created the Stamping Village, which created
Yep.
years and years of camaraderie, that it just makes this industry what it is. It also, in so many ways, is the key to that crafty therapy that we often talk about
Yep.
throughout the episodes, right? Is
Yep.
that you just love doing business with people you like. You love hanging out with people that you really have kinship with, and I think that crafty therapy then translates to actually doing the craft with your hands, with friends, maybe people who didn't know before but become great
Yep.
friends. And that act of actually completing it, that mastery, that feeling, sense of trying something new, watching Jennifer, for example, and seeing a great new technique and doing it anew or doing it for the first time. And then, of course, that aspect of giving it to someone else.
Yep.
You know, how it makes you feel good, and then watching them receiving that or really appreciating or not knowing or asking, hey,
Yeah.
wait, you made this yourself? Can you show me how to do that? Or I'd
Yep.
love to try these things. And I think that whole cycle is really what this Hanging with Hero has been about, talking about
Yep.
all those from different angles, as well as kind of the history of not only the industry but hero arts as well.
I agree. I agree. A lot of great people. It's been fun to bring
Yeah,
them all on, and we didn't even reach them all, so we got to keep going
true.
somehow. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, to circle back around, so Kinnery will definitely find a way to
Yeah. We'll
include
figure it
her,
out.
maybe in the new format of Hanging with
Yeah.
Hero. Maybe we'll, could be the same name. Maybe we'll change the name when we change the format. But we'll find ways um, to do that and have fun. Um, yes. I know a couple questions are about. We had a warehouse sale. If anybody's
Yeah.
local, we had a wonderful opportunity to visit with people. Hero Arts, since the sale to Spellbinders, we continue to make red rubber woodblock stamps in our facility here, right? Which I'm very proud of, which of course, maybe you end where you start,
Yeah.
right? Because that's where we started. My mom
Yeah.
started with a stamp press in our bathroom. That's in 1974 how Hero Arts was born, and how I got fewer showers than I probably wanted to because my mom was working in the bathroom all the time as a 7-year old, and we continue to do that today. And I think it really is an artisan craft. It really is reminiscent of the way so many things are made in our industry. It's made by hand. It's cut by hand. It's all natural rubber. It's sustainable wood blocks, and it's really a joy to make. And
Yep.
sad part is, it's just not in demand as much as it used to be, which is fine because things have evolved. Things aren't meant to last forever
Yep.
necessarily. And so we continue to do it. How long, I don't know, because there's just not the same demand for that. But that is a wonderful part of this partnership with Spellbinders that we continue in Richmond, California, where they have moved a lot of the pick, pack, and ship, or all the pick, pack, and ship to Arizona.
Yep.
That's the part of the partnership that we'll wait and see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens with that red rubber side of things. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's a beautiful evolution of stamping. So, Um, and I agree. Nothing stamps like red rubber.
No.
In the warehouse sale, I met so many wonderful people. Many
Yeah.
who I've talked with for many years, and others who are new. Um, One woman though, Jeannie, she introduced herself as "I dream of," so that I could remember her name. It was Jeannie, and she said that she's loved Hero Arts for so many years because it helped her kind of identify her community of people that she really wants to be a part of and hang out with, stampers. She mentioned that she had Hero Art stamps from many, many years ago, and one of them that really struck her and was so important for her was one that was it was Asian influence. It was an old clear stamp from I think 16 or 17 years ago,
Wow.
which we can talk about again. That time frame we'll get to in just a second when we talk about how dyes came in the market, which is right around that
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And it was Chinese influence. The art was Chinese. She saw other Japanese, and for her, that was something she just didn't see in crafting. She didn't see her heritage in crafting, and so she picked up that set and really loved it, and then went forward and just really discovered crafting, really discovered stamping, embossing, all of the wonderful skills. Found Jennifer McGuire on YouTube, and really because of that Hero Arts experience became a lifetime stamper now that she's looking back and reflecting on that. So it's just so wonderful to hear that. Jeannie also mentioned that she watches Hanging with Hero uh,
Good.
every episode. So if you're here tonight, I just wanted to call that out. It was nice talking with you.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
So many good people. So many good
Yes.
people.
So you might notice that we don't have a guest tonight because it's the end of the year, people are busy.
Yep.
Kinnery was traveling, and so just Jennifer and I will go over that history. So should we dive in to where we were? A quick
Yeah.
summary, maybe, of how we got
Yeah.
here, and
I think a quick summary to bring up to where we left off in the first
yeah,
episode.
yeah. So if you remember, I mean, Jennifer and I didn't know what this show was going to be like at all.
Yeah.
So just figured we'd just start talking, and it was fun. And
Yep.
basically, we covered, and I'll just go through it quickly. Hero Arts was born in 1974. My mother is a school teacher at that
Yep.
time, teaching at-risk youth. And one of the things that was really a challenge for her is reaching them. And one of the things that she could do to kind of captivate them and get their attention was art and drawing, photography, watercolors, all these different things she brought in as she realized this is the case. And so when she was looking for more creativity that she could bring to her classroom, she realized that there was this old dusty machine in the basement of the school. And she asked somebody what it was, and they said it was a vulcanizer. And she had no idea what a vulcanizer was, but she brought it
Yeah.
home, and she realized that you can press rubber with it. And yeah, and so that's kind of her passion was born. She was a photographer too, and so the idea that stamps didn't have to be quite so finicky, because back in the day of photography in 1974, you had to mix the chemicals in order
Yep.
to develop them yourself, right? It's not that all the digital cameras and film that we have today, and so it was very fussy to get that right. You had to expose it right, and you had to put the light in, and you had to get the chemicals just right in order to expose it. And stamping was so free. Like
Yeah.
you didn't have to worry about that stuff, right? You could
Yeah.
stamp anywhere. There was no real mistakes, and you could smudge the ink. And she just loved that aspect of stamping. And so she started getting everyone she knew to draw things, including me. I drew a stormtrooper, which probably violated, the Lucasfilm right at the time. But um, and she made stamps out of them. She gave it to
Yeah.
asked her students to draw things, and she made stamps. And one wise friend of hers, when they saw all the stamps that she had made, said to her, "Yeah, this might be a business if you wanted to explore this." And so she tried. She started selling on Telegraph Avenue. Again, a lot of the people who visited in our warehouse sale earlier this month mentioned that they remember all those sales on
Oh,
Telegraph Avenue. Telegraph Avenue is a street that goes right down the middle of Berkeley and ends at the UC Berkeley. So it's kind of a hub for
okay.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
community at that time. And they would close the street, um, that part of the street, and there'd be handmade vendors that would come, like a crafts fair or a maker fair, and it was a lot of fun. And my mom, I remember we would have to get there at 5 in the morning and sell stamps. But that's where she started, and she realized after a time that she had enough money in the bank after that period of time that she said that she would give this a try to say,
Mm,
okay, yeah, I didn't spend any money, even though I, you know, above what I made. And so, yeah, I might just try this. So she took a year absence, and Hero Arts was born. So, yeah, and back in the day, up through the 70s, there really weren't the supplies that you get. She had to help develop the vendors who we know
yeah.
today, who make inks, who make embossing powders, who make glitter. Glitter was especially glitter glue, was a very big technique back in the 70s and 80s. Teddy
Absolutely.
bears, dominated the a lot of the designs that a lot of companies
Yeah. I
made.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of in the all the old wood rubber stamps. A lot of teddy bears.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely biased towards QC. And a lot of
Yes.
the companies that started All Night Media, Rubber Stampede, Personal Stamp Exchange, Stampa Rosa, all kind of came from that same time, the same area. Well, they're all within 50-mile radius of
Yep.
where my mother started Hero Arts. And I don't know if she was the first, but I think she's the first. But I don't know if that is actually true. But these other
Right.
companies basically were at the same time. She was either first or tied.
Yeah.
Again, who's counting?
Close
Because
enough.
yeah, as more companies came, it was very, you could just see the creativity. You could just see
Yep.
the catalog starting to come out. My mom's first catalog was a fold out poster, and other catalogs came, and slowly the 80s hit, and you started actually getting magazines featuring. Yeah, Simon Hurley wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even close. Hi,
No,
Simon.
you, s- you started getting magazines that featured stamps, showing off techniques, listing stores. That's where you would find a store near you. Is you get a magazine and you'd look at your
Yep.
state and then your city, and you'd find a store near you. I remember when
The
my mom
magazines
got the
were
first.
great.
Oh, they
So
were
good.
wonderful. I mean, yeah, Rubber Stamp Madness started soon. I mean, that was a very eclectic magazine that featured everything stamping.
Yeah.
Stores were wonderful. Stampa Barbara. I think I've mentioned it on this show before. I don't remember which episode, but that was an amazing store at its height. At its height, apparently, it had 250 different brands and over a hundred
Wow.
thousand different stamp designs. So it was a massive store, and it was a mecca. Like you would come traveling on your vacation across the nation to visit Stampa Barbara, which is located in Santa Barbara, which is Southern California, north of LA, and about 5 hours from here. And so that kind of was the growth of stamping. And then the 90s hit, and I think you really had scrapbooking starting to expand and grow.
Yep.
Stamping was starting to break out into more different industries, like it was kind of in craft stores or art stores, and we started seeing actual stamping stores, like all stamps. That's what the whole store's theme was, not just these other things. And then scrapbooking did the same, and you started getting an explosion of stores that were scrapbooking oriented.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the 90s and early 2000s were a period where you didn't necessarily mix those two.
Nope.
If you were a scrapbooker, you did scrapbooking. If you were a
Yep.
stamper, you did card making or stamping, and it was very different. And I don't think people intermingled, not because they didn't like each other. I don't mean it that way. I just
Yep.
meant it was
No,
like
that wasn't it.
it was a different craft.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that was a very interesting time, a fun time too, because there was such an explosion of investment. So there are shows that were kind of small, like Creativation, which we used to call CHA, Craft Hobby Association, which is the trade industry's kind of main show.
Yep.
And then there were art shows. There were all these different things. All of a sudden, all these shows started growing. All these magazines started coming out. People
Mm-hmm.
started investing in, advertising, and so you really had an explosion of the industry. Paper crafting, uh, that combined scrapbooking and card making really started to grow up. And you started getting big companies getting into it because it was the era where
Yep.
home printers, were going color and were
Oh
getting
yeah.
cheaper, and so you would get like big companies like Kodak and Epson and things like that
Yep.
advertised in the magazine. So all of a sudden there was a lot more money in the industry,
Yep.
and which means magazines could come out more frequently, and the trade shows could be more frequent. In fact, at a height, I think in the late '90s, we went to I think 12 retailer only trade shows a year. I mean, so basically every month you were traveling somewhere in the U.S., like New York Stationery, New York Gift, Arts in Seattle, Arts in Florida, uh, Craft Hobby Association in Anaheim in LA near
Yeah.
Disneyland or in Chicago. So these were shows that you just went to see retailers. Like, can you
Yep.
imagine that? It wasn't even end user shows. There weren't
Nope.
really end user shows at the level there were retailer shows at that time. And then, of course, scrapbooking really started taking off. And then you also had a whole series of, CKUs, Creating Keepsake University. You had
Oh
all of
man.
the end user shows. You had teaching shows. Where you could get certified.
Yep.
Big parties, big events. I mean, big money.
Yep.
Compared to our little cottage industry. And still, at this point, stamping in the late '90s, early 2000s was just really red rubber stamps. There
Yep.
weren't other stamps. There weren't
Nope.
dyes either. I mean, there were some dyes here and there, but it hadn't caught on as part of our industry.
No.
Certainly was not part of scrapbooking. And 12 by 12, of course, was the format for scrapbooking. They didn't look at folded cards, so even the paper craft, didn't really mix.
Yep.
You had an explosion of inks, you had an explosion of watercolors, you had an explosion of colors in card making, and you really had a wonderful, beautiful array of printed papers and inclusions, and a really exciting array of new products that came out in scrapbooking too. And this is right around the time that Jennifer and I met.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I feel blessed to have
Yeah.
met you and to work with you. It was uh, probably one of the most important calls that I had ever made, not knowing it at the time. I'm like, okay, why are scrapbookers not knowing about stamping or not using stamps? And so I figured, okay, I've got to do more research here and figure this out. And I read some articles in some of the magazines that people said don't use stamps in your scrapbook page because it'll
Yep.
bleed through the page. It's not archival. It'll spread over
Yeah.
everything. It's too messy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so because of that, I was like, that's not true. Actually, a lot of that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people were just afraid, and until they learned, and also a lot of scrapbooking products at that time were like one and done, like a piece of paper or a sticker. Like once you've used it, it's gone. So
Yeah,
here comes stamping, which isn't that. It costs more, right? It doesn't cost 50 cents like a piece of paper or $2 like a pack of stickers. It was an investment. But then people learned there were so many fun ways you could use it.
yeah,
So
true.
it just took a little playing around and figuring it out.
And that's a great point, Jennifer. Actually, price was an issue, I remember back
Yep.
then, because paper was, $1 a sheet,
Yep.
right? sometimes cheaper if it wasn't if it was kind of large stock. And stamping stuff like a woodblock stamp, back then, surprisingly, just a quick plug for woodblock stamps. This has not changed in price for 30 years. Like, it has not really gone up in price. Like, you could probably get a stamp, proportionate to inflation back in the late 90s when we're talking, for the same price that you can buy it today.
Yep.
But that's really expensive. Like, that stamp, you're looking at that stamp, and that might be, $8. And you're looking
Yeah.
at it going, that's going to be for one scrapbook page. I'm going to have to spend
Yeah.
$8. I could get the stickers, that it's a
Yep.
whole set of flowers for, $2.99. No, I'm not going to buy that stamp. It doesn't make any sense. And so there was
Yep.
a lack of understanding on the value of the repetitive nature of, once you use that sticker, it's gone. And a stamp that we make, people still bring to us. They last a
Right.
lifetime,
Yep.
lifetime of stamp. And so there was also that price barrier. Um, so I think that really is very important to remember, that there was this dichotomy. So because of that separation, and we knew, back to the stamping, oh no, it's going to bleed all over my page.
Yep.
But scrapbooking had layering. Like, you would layer stickers over paper, you would have other pieces of paper over paper, you'd have photos over paper. So why not a stamped image that you cut out and layered on your paper, right? So
Yep.
even that was, which was repeated again and again in magazines, was not correct. Any
Right.
stamper knows that you can stamp on another piece of paper, get it
Yeah.
right before you layer it on.
Yep.
So it's not going to bleed through anything. It's not going to mess up your page. And so, but because of this, we needed to educate scrapbookers. And so I called Jennifer. And I remember Louise Burns, who was our sales manager,
Yeah.
said, "Aaron, yeah, you should call the and she called you the scrapbooking girl, because she seems really popular and nice." And so,
Yeah, I was full in on scrapbooking. I mean, I was full in until I got the call from you. And then
yes.
I was like, I can try this card thing. It was when I met the people. I went to the first show. I remember the first show I went to, and I was there with a scrapbook company, but I came to one of your classes, the Hero Arts classes, and Sherry Carroll was teaching, along with a few other people, but she came up to me, and right away we hit it off. Right away we hit it off. And she turned me into a card maker. She welcomed me in. She didn't have to. And she welcomed me in. And I think between her and the rest of the folks in the industry, I hook, line, and sinker. I eventually switched to just card making exclusively, because I just loved the community. It was, and also there was some negativity in the scrapbooking world, because when people are sharing their personal stories, jealousy builds up and a little of that kind of stuff. And with card making, it just was free of that, and it made it a comfortable place to land. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I've got you and Sherry to blame.
Well, I've got two reactions to that. The first is, that reminds me of, like, my mom, why she came from photography. There's just less drama in stamping.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
kind of what you're saying, for different
yeah,
reasons, of course.
yeah, yeah. It was. I just found my people. Found my people.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people that were in the scrapbook industry that was such great people, they've eventually kind of moved into both worlds. Like Vicky Booten, who was one of our guests, and there were a lot of other, Amy Tan. I mean, so many great people. It just kind of all came together. It was wonderful.
Yeah. No, no, that is wonderful. And again, today I think it's much more blended.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many people that can do scrapbooking and card making and mixed
Yep.
media, and they really enjoy all of it. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's the same drama. I think it got a little high pressure
Yeah. I
in the
think
late
that's what the word.
2000s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of competition, and it got a little oversaturated, I think. And then
Yeah.
there was a tough economy starting about 2008, and so that kind of cratered some of the business, which is very sad. And
Yeah.
so, but like all great industries that people love, it reorganized. And okay, so back to when we had that call in, mid
Yeah.
2000, I think the second thing that I think is interesting about your story about meeting Sherry Carroll is reminds me a little bit about Tim Holtz's story about
Yeah.
how he started, right? He actually went kicking and screaming. You went because you were excited about it. That maybe that's a
Yeah.
difference. But they said, hey, from Ben Franklin, Tim, go to this stamping class, and he's like, oh, I don't want to.
Yep.
Do
Well,
I have to? He said no initially. and
yeah.
and then he finally went, and it was like formative, right?
Yeah.
That was his start in stamping, and he
Yeah.
loved it ever since. And kind of like
I,
with you, you met Sherry and you were like, what,
yeah.
this is a great person and a great technique and a great class. I love this.
And I didn't like, I was happy to look into it, but I didn't think it would be the big of a deal. I thought I would still kind of be on the outskirts, kind of a bit of an outsider to it. But Sherry, you and Sherry wouldn't let that happen. So
True.
it was just like a switch, a switch. So, and Sherry and I used to go traveling to all those shows together, and we would have so much fun. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, we had fun, so much fun. So
Well,
I'm
and I,
glad
I
I'm
think
glad
that
you
was,
made that call.
yes, me too.
Changed my life.
Mine too, for sure. I have to say, and we just all really liked each other, and that's the best
Yeah,
part is that you find
yeah,
your people, you find your community, you find that kind of group of people that you want to stamp and craft and hang out with, and I think that that's so important. That really kind of is the industry in a nutshell.
yeah,
And so what you helped Hero Arts do is okay, well, let's appeal to scrapbookers because scrapbookers obviously used photos as a centerpiece,
yeah.
not all, but almost kind of the
Most
standard
of the
for
time.
scrapbooking was, yeah, family photos,
Yep.
children, events, holidays, and card making was more about messages. Thank you, thinking of you, happy birthday. And so you found a way to really, I think, blend those things and allow people to say, yeah, you can use a photo in your cards. You can use a
Yeah.
message on your scrapbook page.
Yeah.
There's less drama. You can
Yeah.
kind of do what you want. There's not really
Yep.
rules.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you showed, yeah, if you're going to make a scrapbook page and you've got all these craft supplies out already,
Make a
why not
card.
also make a card?
Yep.
And so that I think determined kind of the future of our catalogs for a number of years.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a wonderful time. The interesting thing here, too, is that right around this time, uh, you had the evolution to clear stamps. So
Yep.
photopolymer clear came in, and there was some drama around that because some of the early photopolymer yellowed, and some of
Yeah.
the other stuff that people made wasn't photopolymer; it was acrylic, which was not a good
Acrylic.
material.
And it gave it a
And
bad
so
name.
yes, and it
Yeah.
gave clear stamps a bad name and
Oh.
price. Some people thought
Oh.
they're really expensive, because they were like I think $14. Well, maybe not. I mean, today you can usually get a clear stamp set 4x6 for $15. They might have been cheaper then. I don't remember, but equivalently they were about the same.
Yep.
Maybe $12 then, but that's maybe $15 in today's money. And so they were expensive, they yellow, they didn't stamp
Yep.
well. People tried to return other people's stuff to us. Like I remember we would sell a certain line of stamps and people would say, hey, this didn't work. Can I return it? And they'd like bring it to stores and it wouldn't be our brand. Like they put it in our packaging to try to return it because our stamp stamped well and acrylic just simply didn't. And so it took a shaking out, and I remember some stores
It
fiercely
was
were like,
rough.
I'm never going to carry clear. I'm only going to
Yeah.
carry wood.
It's true.
And yeah, and wonderful, loyal customer retailers. But the reality is, over time, clear stamps, you had themes, you had multiple stamps. Red rubber is much harder to store because it's
Yeah.
heavier, especially as people started going to more and more classes, which really there was a renaissance in classes. Not that there weren't classes back in the day,
Absolutely.
there were, but there was a new
Yeah.
explosion of excitement around going to events, going on
Oh yeah.
cruises, doing in person shows. The Creating Keepsake years were amazing. thing. Those events, if you had the opportunity to go to, were, I mean, they were, palatial locations and
Yeah.
very grand celebrations.
Yep.
So yeah, it was
And people would,
right.
there were a lot of independent retailers. And so we would go teach at those. There was one here in town, and I taught at it frequently. And I know Tim traveled. A
Yes.
lot of us traveled all over the world. I'd go to Australia and New Zealand teaching classes, and it was just everybody. It was like nobody could get enough. Nobody could get
Yeah.
enough. And this was before we started doing videos. And man, the energy was just always the best. It was always hard
Yeah.
though, because there were people you knew couldn't get to a class, get to an event or get to a class for various reasons. So that aspect was hard, but other than that, it was wonderful to be able to go and see people and craft in person. It was fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. There was no real substitute. I mean, the industry is really elegant and beautiful in the way it's evolved. YouTube, social media, so many influencers that you can get at your fingertips. But there really was
Yep.
no substitute for that wonderful store that you
Yeah.
had in your area that you could go and take classes.
Yeah.
And, back in 2000, we had 6,000 independent stores who sold papercraft products, including stamps. And today, maybe you have 600, right? So
Yeah.
it's a tenth. Now, a lot of that's gone online, and you've got wonderful online stores like, Heidi, who was a guest. And, Simon Says
So
Stamps
good.
is such a dynamic place that you can find so
Brilliant.
many wonderful
Yep.
supplies, and you can get great samples for every product, right?
Yep.
With the images there, you can then look it up on YouTube, and you can find some influencer who's used that product. And I mean, in so many ways, it's so much better than it was in terms of getting inspiration, getting ideas,
Yep.
getting techniques, getting explained. But back in the day, if you took one of the classes at one of those great stores, there really
Yeah.
just was no better experience.
It's true. It's
And
true.
yeah, and then you had the archivers that grew up. There was a wonderful kind of blend of scrapbooking and stamping, and really showed the way for stores to not have to do one or the other. And so then
Yep.
you had a lot of hybrid stores. Um, you had machines. You had people like still they would sell Epson printers too, but they started selling die cut machines, which we're getting to very soon now in our time frame. Um, because as the economy turned down, 2008, if people remember, it was hard times for retailers because the economy turned down. A lot of people struggled because of people just didn't have disposable income because they were worried about the economy. There was higher unemployment, but
Yep.
also Amazon was rising, right? Amazon really went from a bookstore, a bookseller, to kind of everything under the sun.
Yep.
And that transition, included craft supplies, included
Yep.
scrapbooking supplies, including art supplies of all sorts. And so that double challenge made it tough for retailers to really pay their rent. So a lot of them closed down or transitioned. Some went to online only. Some did other things, and so that definitely was a sad part of kind of the history of retailers because shows started to become less and less because there just weren't
Yep.
as many buyers to go.
Yeah.
Magazines had less investment, and so magazines started being challenged as
True.
well. You had less money in advertising. Like in the heyday in 2004, 2005, 2006, I think there were some people who did TV ads. There were people who did ads in like Martha Stewart magazines, really expensive, like high ticket items. And after that kind of 2008, 2012 period, you didn't have that anymore. People just didn't have the money for that, and the
Right.
and the industry shrunk. I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is that a lot of wonderful scrapbook vendors went out of business. Basic Ray, we
Oh,
collaborated with for a
they were
number of
so
years.
good.
Yeah, Hero Arts and Basic Ray. I don't know if people remember, but co-packaged together based
Yeah.
on Jennifer's recommendation. So we made cling stamps for them in their packaging, and they did these beautiful envelopes. I wish I had a picture of it. Um, and they were quite wonderful.
Yeah.
And they hadn't done stamps before. They hadn't done except here and there. And so, yeah, here's a collection. I don't have the actual packaging, but if you look at the catalog, like it's like
Oh
their
yeah.
papers, right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
our stamps, and this was their, what do they call it? The knee highs and bow ties collection, Basic Gray and Hero Arts. And so it was an era that companies started collaborating because
Yep.
of the challenging industry times, because stores
Yep.
were going out of business or had less money to buy. A lot of companies, we started getting together, and this is kind of the dawn of the partnerships.
Yep.
Hero Art started reaching out to different companies and different artists. We worked with Studio Calico. We worked
Mm-hmm.
with Basic Gray.
Yep.
Um, and I met um, many years earlier a guy named Denzel Quick.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and in the late 2000s, him at the time, he was with Sizzix, he and I
Mm-hmm.
decided, you know what? We're making die cut machines and dies, and this is kind of a new part of the industry. We're just getting the prices down to be able to kind of make it popular. And this is something that had been growing all through the 2000s, but hadn't really hit stamping. It was a
Right.
little bit more obscure, right? A little
Right.
separate from scrapbooking. People didn't really think about it as something that was affordable because the machines were 100,
Yeah.
150, or at least the equivalent in today's dollars. And so it seemed, no, that's too expensive. That's not something I would do. Why would I want to get a die cut for a one-off thing? Again, the same thing. If you had the sticker mentality, it didn't make sense to spend for these die forms
Right.
that you might want. But Denzel and I decided that you know what, no one's combined stamps and
Yep.
dies where you could actually stamp an image and then die cut it out.
Yep.
So working together, right around 2010, we came
Yeah.
out. By 2011, I think it took us about a year to develop it and market it. We came out with cling stamps packaged with what we call frame
With
cuts.
dice. Yeah.
Frame dies that you could cut out the images. And for Hero Arts, that was one of the first times. We were a little slow to come to clear because Jennifer and I in 2005 were faced with the question of whether we wanted. We said, nah. But a
I
year
didn't think
later,
it
we
would
said,
work.
okay, now we should.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong.
Me too.
Big
But
time.
with but with Dyes, we decided, no, this is something that seems like really exciting, and so we jumped on it.
Yeah.
And according to Denzel, I don't know if he's right, but he said we were the first collaborative companies to combine stamps and
Hmm.
dies together. And it was co-branded, so we sold it
Yeah.
and they sold it, and it was a wonderful partnership. And it sold
Yep.
really well for a number of years. And so, if you look at this, 2013, we had this catalog called Hero Arts and Friends, and see if you
Oh
see down there,
yeah.
right? You can
Yeah.
see Basic Gray, Sizzix, Studio Calico, and Hero Arts. And we had,
Goodness.
different partners that we would work with all the time. We had a 2012 summer version. We had that
And
2011 free first launch. And for Hero Arts, that was kind of the start of the dies. And ever since, we've carried dies. We started thinking, I remember at the time, 2012, I'm working with Denzel when he's at Sizzix. And I remember thinking, would we ever consider doing a die for every stamp we make? And both of us kind of laughed. Nah, that's too many dies. People
yeah.
can't. There's got to
Yeah.
be a limit. But basically, that's what we do now with every clear, right? When you
Absolutely.
put out
Yeah.
matching frame
Everybody.
cuts, yeah.
If
Uh,
there
and
isn't if there isn't a die, people get upset. So yeah.
right.
Everyone.
Do people remember the time before dies? You know what you had to do?
Fussy. Fussy cutting.
That's right.
Yep.
Exactly right. And I mean, you still have to if you ever get a stamp without a die, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we even we package them together. Hero Arts, you can
Yep.
get a clear set, or you can get the what we call the SB bundle, which is the clear plus the matching frame cuts, pretty much for every clear set we make. I mean, there are some
Yeah.
designs that don't really need a die, like maybe if it's a full size clear or a square, there might already be other dies. You don't have a matching version. But I do find that is that's the norm. It's
Yeah.
just like before clear sets, we couldn't even imagine clear sets. Going
Yeah.
back even further, in the 70s, before there were 24 colors of ink, we couldn't imagine there being more. Why would you need more colors?
Yeah. Oh, little did we know.
Yeah,
Gosh. Oh.
I only need red and black.
No, we need lots
yeah.
of colors. We need all the colors and we need all the dyes.
Well, yeah. What are there?
Mm.
13.2 million colors or something like that the
Okay.
human eye can see. So of
Yep.
course 24 was not the limit. Of course, just a few dyes wasn't going to be.
Yep.
Of course, a clear set, that wasn't just going to be for, a couple things. These are opportunities for creativity. And then of course
Yep.
dyes weren't just frame dyes either. What we call a fancy die, the industry has different names for their types of dies, right? Those are standalone dies that
Yep.
cut out a shape that maybe you don't need a stamp with. You could still collaborate, of course, put
Right.
a message over, layer a background, but nonetheless, these fancy dies were also available. And then there were nesting dies where you had a whole bunch of
Yep.
shapes, but sizes that nested up from large to small, nested down. And, so it really was an explosion of innovation
Yep.
and creativity. So, if you think back in this industry, we often talk about the crafty therapy. We talk about creativity. We talk about
Yep.
community. Talk about friendship. Talk about all the great stores. But another aspect of this industry that I marvel at is the innovation. Right? I mean, there has been amazing growth in new designs, new products, new formats over the years that
Yep.
is a torrid pace. I mean, just imagine all the guests that we've had. Gina, from Gina K, Kelly from Lawn
Yeah.
Fun, Greg from Conquer the Night, Alt New. They have to, Hero Arts, Spellbinders, all these companies. Basically, we have to innovate new designs, new styles, new fashions every month.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, it is a freight train of constant
It
creativity.
is. It is.
And, it's wonderful and also dizzying to imagine that, from that humble beginning where my mom maybe had, I don't know, 100 designs when she, by the end of the first year, and she
Yep.
had some glitter glue and she had 6 or 8 ink pads with another, up to 24 coming in terms of colors. And if, basically just white paper, because why would you need colored paper? Um,
I don't know.
I mean, wow. I mean, even
Yeah.
50 years seems like not enough time to
Yeah.
to get all those innovations packed in. But wow, I mean, this industry is
It's
amazing,
true.
and I just applaud all the companies, that have innovated over the years, including clear stamps, obviously,
Yep.
and dyes that we were just talking about. All the colors, all the papers, all the printed
Yep.
papers, the scrapbook industry, and there's more innovation to be had, and that is the retail formats, right? To have that many stores open up across America, and around the world, really, was pretty amazing. Because in the
Yeah.
90s, the early 90s, I don't think there were even a fraction of those number of stores, but it really just
Mm.
exploded the numbers because of the demand, because of all of you wanting to kind of, those of you who were born um, or crafting at that time, those of you who were wanting to do the art, to do the art of crafting, the art of
Yeah.
stamping. It really drove retailers to innovate and to battle the ones that are still here today, the 600 who have survived or have started anew, to battle all
Yep.
the online like Amazon, and to really be relevant in their localities. It's a marvel every day.
Yep.
It's challenging. We've talked to retailers, and I mean, I think that's a very Brutus Monroe. We had a kind of glimpse into into how that store's run, and I think it's really amazing how this industry is so innovative, and it's
Yep,
creative people who have done it. But innovation will have to add to that list, I think, of
absolutely.
aspects of this industry. Yeah,
Yeah, I think a big part about the industry that people often forget, I mean, just it's just something you don't think about because it's so readily available. But this industry is incredibly generous with the content, the ideas they put out there too. So they're not only coming up with these products, but an incredible amount of content to make, to inspire all of us. And that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of work for these companies to do. And I think
yep,
sometimes we forget that because not other hobbies don't have as much of that. So I think it's one of the things that you talk about. So there's so many great new products and companies and all that, and along with it comes so much inspiration, which is one of my favorite things about this industry.
yeah,
And we can
yeah.
thank. I feel like it grew when YouTube started. Blogs were
Yeah.
big, and then starting to do videos. It just really is. It's free content. Like as much as I miss some of those magazines, I mean, there's still some around. It's this. There's an incredible amount of free content to inspire, which I think is one of the best parts of all this.
Yeah. And not shoddy content, really exceptional
Yeah,
content. Like, I think you're
yeah,
hard pressed to not find really inspiring techniques every time that I look through YouTube or Instagram stories,
yeah,
um, you know, Facebook groups,
yeah,
even if it's, maybe just a still photo, less video. I think it's really creative people have come together in this space and
yeah.
found their communities and shared their passions. And I credit you, Jennifer, and I credit a lot of the artists who have gone to YouTube to really kind of build that and seed that community, because it's not just about um, the techniques, which is such a wonderful part. And it's not
Yeah.
just about kind of getting the ideas around the products. It's about getting to know each other and sharing that personal aspect of things, and really doing that. How you doing? You're
I'm okay.
okay.
I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
The medicine's kicked in. I'm good.
Okay. Good. And so for that reason, I marvel every day how lucky I got to kind of have a mom that started in this industry,
Yeah.
and to myself be in it for 25. I mean, really
Yeah.
50. I was there the whole time, but I've worked
You
in the
were.
industry for 5 years. And my wife Laura and I have owned Hero Arts for 16 years now, and worked
Yeah.
together. So I feel very lucky, in the same way that I made that call to you to be in this industry at all, because I do think there is just really a beauty and an elegance and a grace, about this stamping industry that involves kind of all the people involved. Speaking about that, someone did say, and maybe you remember, I don't remember, it might have been Catherine from Scrapbooking Cars Today, give yourself grace. Might have
Yeah.
been Christina Werner and Kathy Z, maybe. I don't remember who was that quote was from. I do remember Kathy Z said, "Pivot. If it's not working,
Pivot.
pivot."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Every one of that's one thing that's been common in every one of these.
yeah,
Every one of these discussions, there was a point where that person had to be brave enough to make a giant pivot. They really
yeah.
did. And I think that's something that we can all learn from. In fact, I got a sticker after all of these. I ordered a sticker off Etsy that says "Pivot, don't panic," and I
Oh,
have it
that's nice.
sitting over on the side here because a lot of people we keep hearing all the different ways that people just pivoted, artists and store owners, or company owners. It's just important
Right.
and to not
I
get
mean,
discouraged.
absolutely. Heidi Swap stories. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
Needs to be a stamp.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I still think we should
Yeah,
put out the Hank Hero quotes and stamps that
we
go with
should.
you. it's rich. It's rich, the
Should,
things that we've
yes,
discussed.
for sure.
I think Heidi Swapp talked about pivoting, how a number of times she
Oh, yeah.
didn't know how to go forward, and she pivoted and found a way, and she didn't panic, and they're just
Yep.
beautiful stories. So I think that's also at the heart of all of this,
Yeah.
is that people really bring themselves, and I credit you, your YouTubes and your lives, to that really is a part of this industry that people kind of share and wear on their sleeves,
Yeah.
kind of not just their strengths but also their failures, their
Yeah.
mistakes, because there really aren't.
Absolutely.
If you aren't ashamed of them, if you don't think, oh, it's that I got to throw this away, then um, what did when we had Dana and Pam said that she sometimes watched the young kids, and if any of her supplies got out, they might spill it all over the place. And she
Yeah.
was like, her first instinct was to get mad. I have to clean that up. Her next was, oh, that's mixed media.
Yeah.
It's all over
It's
paper.
true.
She spilled it all over paper. That's perfect.
It's true.
Yeah, so that's a pivot. Don't panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is kind of well said. I also remember kind of the whole idea that there are, if you think of crafty therapy, if you kind of give yourself that grace to make those mistakes, it's drama free. It's not something
Yeah.
that you get stressed about. It's not something that you feel that you have to do. And I think over this time we've heard from so many semi-professional YouTubers who have said, "Oh, I've made terrible mistakes. Like I've totally messed everything
Oh,
up."
yeah.
But you be human about it, and you be
Yeah.
personal about it, and that in it, if anything, it's one of the most memorable moments,
Yeah.
kind of of the videos that you've done. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you've pivoted in the same way. I made that call to you, and you were
Yeah.
kind enough to kind of, take it seriously, and then you pivoted to
Yeah.
card making, and the industry's better for it. We were just hearing about your brother Mike, who, of course,
Hmm.
is the tech guy. He's behind the scenes. He likes
Yep.
helping out his sister, being a part of this.
Yep. He was an
That's
engineer
cool.
and now he's doing
Yeah.
this.
I mean, these are wonderful stories. They're human
Yeah.
stories. They really kind of make kind of this industry what it is, and it's beautiful. It really is.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, from my perspective, again, I'm glad to just be a part of it. Okay, so we're around 2010 when dyes start really taking off. Let's move up to the present. But before we do that, let me just say that you should visit heroarts.com because we're having 50% off a number of great kind of older products. Some of them are actually not that old. They might be just overstock. So this is a great time to go see the 50% off sale. Limited time.
Nice.
So go check it out. And of course, we always love and appreciate all of you and want to thank each of you. So we have some winners tonight that we've picked from
Ooh.
comments. This is something that we've done every time. We've got a Hero Arts gift card. We've got scrapbook.com has continued to be a sponsor throughout. They probably didn't imagine that we would go this long. So thank you, scrapbook.com. And Ranger as well. They foolishly agreed to sponsor every one of these. So, yes, didn't know we'd go 19 episodes. No, thank you very much, Ranger and scrapbook.com, and so many others. We've had so many other, sponsors that you will, but tonight, congratulations to the winners, Holly, Lori, and Barbara. Yes, thank you so much for joining. We're not done tonight, but we just wanted to be sure at the top of the hour to recognize the people that are here. Okay,
I'm
so
shopping.
yeah,
Right at
there's
the
some.
top are the winter script message rub-ons that I love. Those white rub-on transfers right at the top
Oh
of the
yeah,
sale page.
yep, I love those too.
There's some good
Laura
stuff
designed
there.
those. Yeah,
Those are great.
and that's one of her favorites. And one of the hard things about this industry is you do. People have mentioned, as we were talking about innovating, putting out new products every month, you do have to let things go, and that's so hard. That is actually a
Oh
really
yeah.
hard part of the industry.
Yep.
is not doing it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away forever. And some of those that are for sale, they might just be overstocked, or it's the holidays. We're not going to bring them
Yeah.
back maybe till next year. And so
Yeah.
for that reason, if we've got inventory, then you get a great chance to get them at 50% off. So definitely shop and you have to discontinue things. That is the hard reality.
Yeah.
And especially as designers, like, obviously my wife is the chief designer of Hero Arts for 16 years before Spellbinders purchased Hero Arts, and now it's two brands, one company. And Laura and I are advisors, but we're not actively involved on a
Yeah.
day to day. But it was really hard for her and her team to do the discontinueds, and so sometimes I would have to do it, and we would have so many tears. Like people would be like, "That's like my
Yeah.
favorite. You can't
I
discontinue."
know. It could always come back. It could
Yeah.
always come back.
Yeah.
I am pushing for some of the great old wood stamps of Hero Arts to be brought back in clear sets, because you used to have some really intricate, beautiful florals and like stone etching things that would be gorgeous. And they'd be gorgeous as press plates too. So I
Yeah.
can see some of the, because most of the people here haven't seen all those images. So it'd be fun to bring some
True.
of those back. So you never know when
Yeah.
they'll come back.
True. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I see one question. I did forget to mention,
Yeah.
Holly, you're a winner. Just email info@heroarts.com, regardless of which one of the three gifts that you got.
Yeah.
And you'll get all sorted. So you just email info@heroarts.com to claim your prize, your gift certificate. Yes. So I do think things have a way of coming around, and also
Yep.
sometimes even if something gets discontinued, it's inspiring. Like, it doesn't mean that it was a bad design. Far
No.
from. It might mean it was underappreciated, it wasn't used. So sometimes you then have a new theme that you come up with, and you kind of bring back, maybe in a new way,
Yeah.
like you said, Jennifer. Maybe it was wood, and you bring it back in clear. And so, yeah, and so creativity is a wellspring of new ideas and new directions. I mean, like every year we do Christmas designs. Like, how many times can you say Merry Christmas in a stamp?
Yeah.
Right? And we've done it for 50 years. And
Yeah.
somehow every year it seems fresh and new.
Yeah.
It seems
For
different.
real. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so sometimes you're inspired by old, throwbacks. Sometimes you have new
Yeah.
ideas that take you in new directions. And yes, so, but you do have to discontinue, because we try to keep about 1,000 active products at any given time.
That's a
And if
lot.
obviously, yeah, but if you put out 200 new ones every year, that means you got to
Ooh.
discontinue.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. And I think one of
Yeah.
the things people also, like, I didn't used to think about until I started getting close with company owners, is some of these businesses are tiny, right? Like a ma
Yeah.
and pa, or just a female who has a stamp line. They can't keep thousands, hundreds of products on their shelves, because that's a lot of money to be tied up. There are so many challenges of being a small company that we forget about. So when you see these small companies pivoting or offering something special like a sale or something, that's a big deal. It's huge for
Yeah.
them. They're taking a big risk every month. And for a lot of these small businesses too, the reason they come out with new products every month is to keep it going, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think new has driven the industry for so many years.
Yeah.
That you do need to kind of enliven and have new ideas,
Yep.
but kind of mixing in the tried and true, the kind of popular themes, popular designs. With that has really been a formula that people have used for many years.
Yeah.
So definitely support, small vendors, small stores. Definitely support everybody in the industry that you love, but do recognize that it can be, especially the smaller, newer companies. It's hard to carry a lot of things, and
Yeah.
yet you have to kind of come up with new designs every month or every quarter, whatever your cycle is, in order to
Yep.
kind of get that focus again. Because it's very hard to, with Instagram, with Facebook, it's
Yeah,
hard to get that focus, and so new often is the way to do it. And then on the
for
back
sure.
end, you do have to discontinue because you don't have unlimited warehouse space. Hero
Right.
Arts is a little bit unique because we're not only a brand and who does pick, pack, and ship, but also we manufacture. So for wood stamps, we were always able to put out, I wouldn't say an unlimited number. That's probably the wrong way to say it, but a large number because we had the plates. We could always
Yeah.
run it, even if the demand got low, we
Yep.
didn't throw that plate away, so we could always run small quantities.
Yep.
And we made it right there. We're not
Yep.
buying from somebody else and
Yep.
bringing it in house and taking the risk because we've already spent the money to have that inventory before we sell it. And that's why also when you see companies do sales, it's a wonderful way to help them because it
Uh-huh.
means that, okay, maybe I've got too much inventory, I've
Yep.
spent too much money to buy
Yep.
that inventory. And so I'm willing to lower the price in order to get some of that out so I can create new products and I can
Yeah.
get you new designs.
For
And
real.
so
Yep.
all of that is, it's an ecosystem that
It
allows small
is.
companies
It is.
to, yeah, to be successful. And I love that part of us. Hero Arts was a just-in-time inventory system, meaning
I
you
remember
placed an
that.
order. Yeah, and we would go and run the rubber on the press. Like we would
Yep.
literally take the 48 hours when we said it takes 40 hours to ship, we'd go run rubber for your wood order
Yep.
or
I
claim.
remember. I remember. I came from the scrapbooking world where, like, if a company had a set of stickers, stores could. There was a minimum that they had to buy. So, like, they had to buy 6 or 12 of that sticker to have it in their store. And I remember when I started teaching for Hero, store owners would say, I can order one of those because Hero would
Yeah.
let you order one. Or if somebody came in with a magazine with like an old stamp, she's like, and they'll be like, it's not in the catalog anymore. She's like, I can get it. Hero will go make you one of those. And that was very new. And one of the advantages of being, making those products there on site.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about that, the way that you tell that story, is that some things are so old they're new again. And that's what
Yeah,
happened with that. Like that's the way it was prior to the scrapbook industry.
yeah,
Like the scrapbook industry, you'd have to do these big print runs of papers. I mean, that's the way
right,
they had to do it in order to make it cost effective, to
right.
be able to sell a piece of paper for $1. They had to do big print runs, so they'd have to sell, I don't know what it was. Probably somebody knows far better than me, say 4,000 sheets or 10,000 sheets
Yeah.
maybe. You had to do big print runs and you had that inventory. Like you
Oh,
got
yeah.
deliver that inventory and you had to sell it down. Hero Arts previous and all stamp companies who made stamps didn't have to do that. Like we had the plates and we had the presses, and so we're just waiting there. Okay, we got an order for kind of like a short
Yeah,
a cook is waiting at the grill
right.
for a breakfast order. We've got 8 of those teddy bears. Go run it, and so you go run over and you make them, and it would take minutes. It
Yeah,
literally would take maybe an hour to get those 8 teddy bears run.
that's
And of
crazy.
course, we would run enough stock because we could forecast. But it,
Yeah,
it basically was that. And then as the industry changed with clear stamps and dyes and so much, people kind of forgot that there were manufacturers like Hero Arts that actually did things. And so then I remember telling stores, especially scrapbook stores who started carrying stamps, oh, yeah, you can buy one. Or, yeah, we
right.
can ship that in 48 hours. Or, no, that never goes out of stock. What do you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because we could just make it. And it was just for them, it was so refreshing. So it was
yeah,
so old, it was new.
yeah, yeah. It was wonderful. And the store owners
Yeah.
loved it because somebody could buy a stamp and then need to come back a few days later to pick it up when it came from Hero. And they loved that the store loved that customers coming back in again, right? So
Yeah.
it was beneficial to everybody.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it was a wonderful way to build partnerships with stores because they then didn't have to carry as much inventory. And they knew that if they had catalogs for Hero Arts, that they
Yep.
allow customers to look back if they didn't find the
Yep.
things they want. So it was synergistic in the best way. Um, and yeah, and I still really appreciate that handmade feel of woodblock stamps
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But they're just not in demand like there were
Sure.
because, again, even the best things of the past, there are reasons why new things come and change. And again, this is industry, and this is about innovation, and innovations came.
Yeah.
Um, yes. So somebody's asking, Kathleen, do we have plates for all of our old stamps? Yes, we do. We did lose some plates when we moved about 15 years ago that we weren't able to find, and some of them that people still wanted, we remade. But basically, we kept all of our plates all the way back.
You're going to keep them,
um,
right?
yeah, and so
Okay, good.
the funny thing is though, we're luckily we're pack rats because if we
Yeah.
weren't, if we were people just toss things away, then no, we wouldn't have those. But we do.
Right.
We have plates all the way back.
Good.
There's a box that I just recently saw that is marked
Wow.
1979.
Wow.
they're probably brittle. I'm not even sure if they still work. We haven't had to run them, but we have run things from the early 80s as recently as last year. So I know that the plates are still good. But yes, you have a plate, and then you make a Bakelite mold, and then you do the rubber.
Yeah.
And so those plates are metal. They're magnesium. They're actually quite long lasting. And so we do have all of those. The Bakelite is something that's like in your car door or in your microwave. It's great because it's hard, but it will erode over time because it's fibrous and it doesn't hold shape. So we might have to rerun what's called the matrix or the plate, or the mold. And then the rubber, pretty much lasts forever, all natural rubber,
Yeah.
no real additives. So maybe turning dark in the sun is about what will happen, and you can kind of revitalize it with water. But people have brought us 45-year-old stamps that still
That's
stamp
crazy.
like they were new today. Uh, so yeah, that's the magic of red rubber. They really do
Yeah.
last for a long time.
They do. They do.
Yep. All right, so 2012, 2013, 2014, the economy really started to beautifully come out of those tough times. I think that we went over this before, but you started getting a whole new crop. Let me just look at my notes. Sorry, you're probably hearing my pages going. Um, you had a whole new crop of stamp companies popping up right around that
Yep.
time. So Lawn Fawn in 2010, Alt New in 2014, Concord and Ninth in 2015, Pink Fresh 2014, Unity
Yep.
Stamps 2008, Gina K was 2006. So you had this group of new stamp
Yeah.
companies that grew up with primarily clear stamps and dyes. They weren't
Yeah.
like Hero Arts, right? That kind of was new to clear stamps because we were, obviously looking at wood. And so you have all of these wonderful companies that you know today that started and really made a big difference. Um, and kind of changed the industry because they never carried a lot of them any red rubber, which to me was what how can you have a
Yeah.
stamp industry without red rubber?
Yeah.
But it's only because we've been doing it for so long, and
Yeah.
it was
That's true.
really a wonderful evolution. And so you got a whole new set of innovations. I mean, Hero Arts did color layering in 2001. Sherry Carroll,
Yep.
color layering, which you probably a lot of you know. Many companies have done color layering clear, but we started with wood. We started with red
Yep.
rubber, right? I mean, and we did it very differently. It was more like blowing in the wind, like a flower, like a re-inking technique,
Yeah.
that Sherry did initially, and then we did
It
it with
was
clear. And
cool.
there's so many innovations like that. The Misty came along, which really
Uh,
made stamping so much more approachable for a
uh,
lot of
yes.
people who had trouble lining things up. Again,
Absolutely.
I mean, that made clear stamps so much easier to use. You had a real expansion of dyes, matching stamps. You had an explosion of stencils. Again, stencil, that's an old technology. It's been around
Yep. Yeah.
since like the 1880s. But in our industry, um, you know, and before that with the printing press, Stencils have been, a big part of it. But getting the price down
Yeah.
so that it came into crafting and really worked well with all of the designs that we did. So many companies and the explosion of different liquid
Yep.
watercolors, sponging, all of those things really kind of grew up. And these companies, these new companies, starting about 2012, 2010, 2014, really kind of changed the way the industry looked. It wasn't red rubber anymore, and you still
Yeah.
have wonderful new influencers like Tim Holtz,
Yeah.
who kind of was there for the transition
Yeah.
from red rubber to clear. I mean, to stencils. He's really mixed media, and so he went
Yep.
in new and creative directions as the new designs came. Someone like Simon Hurley. He continues to use cling, even though he does not remember those early days before clear. He wasn't born yet.
No.
And so, he's found real
Yeah.
creativity in cling, right? All the stuff behind me, as well as other mediums. Ralph Tyndall, new to the scene that we interviewed recently. He started on TikTok. He was really excited about some of the crafty things that he was seeing, and he tried it out. He went to
Yep.
Jennifer's YouTube. He went to Gina's YouTube, and he too. His first thing is he just really loved Heroescapes, right? The large 6x8
Yep.
formats. For him, that was something that also include color layering. Those are things
Yep.
that he could really identify with as a new stamper, as a new crafter, as already a creative person, but really kind of exploring the industry. And he also found cling and stencils and clear and dyes really captivating. And so I think what happened after the 2012s, partnerships, dyes really ascended. Spellbinders
Yep.
became a very important company in this industry, a great partner to Hero Arts. Over the years, we've collaborated.
To
We
many.
use different,
Yeah.
yeah, we use different artists. They use different artists. Creative teams really grew and expanded. So having different influencer educators or teachers on your team, Spellbinders and Hero Arts kind of shared many of the same people, as did other companies.
Yeah.
Knowing Heidi and her website, Simon Says Stamps, really helped fill that gap as stores had gone into business. Working with Heidi to kind of being sure that new releases were
Yep.
out there to get those different medians and education around cling, because people were starting to forget how to use red rubber because clear and dyes were so popular, and stencils. Um, so all of this, I think, really defined the last 10 years of our industry, and that's really what we didn't cover that first episode that we
Yeah.
had. So yeah, and so I think we're up to today.
We are. We are. And that's fun to see some new things popping up in our world, more embossing folders and, foil machines and press plates and so on. It's fun to see these companies just kind of stretching what they have to offer. Keep us on our toes.
Right. I mean, what does this industry hold in the future? I think we've
No
asked
idea.
all of our guests that question, and people have had wonderful answers.
Yep.
And who knows? But I do think if the past offers any insight, which I often think it does. I used to love history when I was in
Yeah.
high school, so I'm gonna continue to rely on that, and that is that wonderful people,
Yep.
innovative ideas,
Yep.
beautiful education, and a lot of it, like you say, a lot of that content's free. I mean, that's just unheard of in
Yeah.
so many industries, that you can get kind of new ideas. A freight train of new development from all of these wonderful companies that we've talked about,
Yep.
and others that I haven't even mentioned, that are really kind of make up this beautiful industry. Crafty therapy, being together, is such an important thing. The making, the giving, and the receiving. And then, of course, innovation. I mean,
Yep.
those are the foundations of our industry. And really, any innovation, and now I have the opportunity to use our catchphrase, really allows a rising tide to lift all boats, because something like the
Nailed
Misty
it.
made all of us better, right?
Yes.
right? It made all
Yes.
of us better. It made,
Absolutely.
yeah, the combination that Denzel and I worked on together with dyes and cling, it
Yep.
just spurned new innovation, new creativity. Everyone did their own.
Yep.
Embossing folders, like you say, that's something that kind of really have evolved over time. They used to be a little brittle. They used to
Yeah.
not work as well, but now the machines, handle them so beautifully, and there's
Yep.
so many great possibility for putting cling into embossing folders,
Yep.
and so all of the hero arts designs could be evolved into that. I just think that there's so many ways that the creativity continues to grow and build, and I think if you're going to look to the future, what's going to happen starting in 2025 as we're on the precipice of a new year, as we're really celebrating 50 years of hero art, celebrating 50 years of the industry. I think there's going to be kind of wonderful new unpredictable innovation, and there's going to be the same wonderful community, the same great people, the same therapy that's available, and so much kind of joy and kind of togetherness that we can all look forward to in 2025 and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I think there's going to be a lot of good things. And I'm going to keep you involved. I'm going to keep you involved. We're going to keep doing something here where we talk and share all these stories. I think it's something that I feel like the more we share in these, the more folks understand the industry and the heart behind it. So I think we should keep going.
I agree. Yes.
Yay.
And yeah, I've got a couple responses to that. Let me just answer one question. Somebody is asking what you can do if red rubber goes
Yep.
hard.
Yep.
It's a natural product. And natural products, like anything, like if you don't water a plant for too long, it will die. That's the reality of it. But
Wow.
if
Oh
your
yeah, you've
plant,
done that.
I've done
if
that a
your
few times.
plant, yes, me too. My wife is the one with the green thumb. I definitely don't. But if you kind of have stamps, red rubber, and you can put a little bit, even inking them in your
Yep.
ink pad, can revive that stamp and bring it back to life. And not happen the first time,
Nice.
but keep doing it. And I think that you will see
Nice.
that you can bring red rubber back,
Yep.
even really old red rubber stamps. A little bit of water. That's basically what it needs.
Yep.
You can even clean it with water. You can clean it with a little soap, um, and that actually keeps it vibrant. A lot of reasons why, and we used to have cleaners that had cleaning products on them, acids, and they're not great for the
Right.
longevity of red rubber. So really, water is the best elixir to your red rubber getting hard, and not stamping as well, because that should bring it back to life. But it's true, some red rubber, if it's left too long and in a dry place for too long, or in the sun for too long, you can't bring it back.
Right.
Um, Okay, so I've got two reactions. I would love to find a way, if anybody has ideas, and we did ask this at the top of the show. If people
Yeah.
have ideas for what to do, you don't have to answer tonight either. Please leave comments
Yeah.
in any of the shows. You're welcome to share tonight. How should we evolve Hanging with Hero? We definitely have so many different directions that we can go. Like, we haven't talked with artists, stamp artists. We haven't necessarily talked with all creative team members. We haven't talked with retailers. We haven't talked about with stampers, how they've really experienced this. There's many more store owners. There's many more stamp company owners we could find.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
another year easily of episodes. But
Yeah.
let's yeah, this is an industry of innovation. How would we innovate Hanging with Hero? Let us
Yeah.
know. We'd love to hear. We have said that when we started this, that we would do it through the end of the year, which is why this could be the last episode. But again, a last episode of maybe Hanging with Hero, but a new direction for you and I, Jennifer, working
2.0.
together, collaborating. Yes, we'll find a
Yeah.
2.0, I'm sure. International companies and designers. These are great
Yep.
ideas. Thank you all. Um, remix, like Tim Holtz said that he wanted to come on again. So we could go around the bend and have more
Yeah.
guests, even if we have a new format. Um, Gina Kay said that too. Catherine from Scrapbook and Card Today, Christina and Kathy Z. So there definitely is excitement about doing it again. And then the final question I want to answer is that people have asked what I'm going to do, and that's a great question. I don't know. And again, innovation is something that I
Pivot.
enjoy. And so, yeah, pivoting. I'm looking at the idea of pivoting. I'm an advisor and a brand ambassador for Hero Arts. Well, really will always be. It's my
Yeah.
it's like one of my kids, right? I love this industry. I love Hero Arts. My wife and I will never be separated from the brand, but we're not involved on the day to day in our roles
Right.
as advisors and brand ambassadors. So we're looking at other things, and I don't know what that is. So if you have any ideas for me, let me know. No, I'm looking for challenges. I don't feel like I'm old enough to retire. I definitely want to do more things, and so I'll still be around. So don't think this is a goodbye for me for this wonderful, glorious industry, because I've spent, you know, every moment since I've known you, Jennifer, praising this industry, and certainly every episode of Hanging with Hero, praising how lucky I feel to be a part of this, to be
Yeah.
your friend, to be kind of on a show, to be able to talk about this wonderful history. And so, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
What people don't know about Aaron is this man has some energy. He has
That's
energy and enthusiasm, and he's. I don't see you retiring to a golf course. I don't see that. I see you doing more things than that. And he has a lot of passions too, environmental stuff. So I could
yes,
see you doing lots of things. Yeah, there's. I could see you doing many things, but we're going to keep you around. And if Hanging with Heroes is the way to keep you sharing your vast knowledge, we're going to do this. Keep it
excellent.
going.
Yes, I'm up for it. If anything, I have too many ideas of what I want to do, so I have to narrow it down. So I'll
That's
I'll,
a
I'll
good
work on that
thing.
over the holidays, and maybe get back to you next year.
Yep.
And I guarantee you won't see me retiring to the golf course, because one, I don't golf, and two, I wouldn't know what to do in retirement. Like,
Yeah. A lot of people
so
struggle. They do
yeah,
struggle.
yes. So I think 57 young is the way I think of it. And yeah, I'm excited to find new directions and new ways. And I will always be a fan of yours and your biggest cheerleader. I will always consider you my friend. If you're ever in town, please come visit me, Jennifer, because I plan to
Oh,
do the
you
same when
know.
I'm in Cincinnati.
You know.
Uh, so our friendship is unbreakable,
Yep.
and yeah, I'm an advisor. My wife Laura and I are advisors and brand ambassadors. So we'll be around for
Yeah.
years, helping Spellbinders, who now owns the brand, but nonetheless we are a part of it from that perspective. So
Yep.
yes, can't wait to see what the coming years bring.
Yeah. I think it'll all be good stuff. All good stuff. And
Yes,
we will come back. We will read some of these comments and we'll figure out. Yeah, I see a lot of requests for Laura Basson. She's a fun one.
yes.
We should get her on too.
We tried to get Laura Basson. It was just like Kenrio, some scheduling issues. So
She
great
moved
idea.
this year. Yeah, she
Yeah.
moved. So I totally can understand that. But we can nail her down. No worries. We'll get
Yes,
her on here. We'll
for
get her and
sure.
Hank
And I
on
see
here.
and I see people mentioning designers. That I think that's a great
Yep.
idea. Yes, I would love to get my wife Laura to join. She
Yeah.
is a little shy, and so
Eh,
I'll keep asking though.
Yeah, we'll all petition.
Yes. Yes. And it's yeah, Spellbinders is an amazing company. Thank you for that comment. I could not have imagined a better future for Hero Arts at 50 years. Couldn't
Yeah.
have imagined that we would sell, but we did. And to have Spellbinders be really the guide for the next 50. Couldn't have found a better partner. Again, like I
Yeah.
mentioned, Denzel Quick is a big part of Spellbinders, and he and I have known each other for 20 plus
Good man.
years, 25 maybe even.
Yep.
And Mark and Nicole, if you don't know them, that's their management team. Marisa, it's a wonderful crew, a wonderful group.
Good
And
people. I've been talking to
yes,
them a lot. Yeah, they're great.
yes. And so, yeah, and more to come on kind of what the future holds. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
to you, to all of your families, I hope you
Yes.
enjoy the holidays, whatever you might celebrate, Christmas or Hanukkah. Happy New Year, happy winter. And to you, Jennifer, to you and your
Yeah.
family.
Yes. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah.
You changed my life along the way, and I'll never forget that. So, we got lots more to talk about.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, happy holidays, everyone, and we are thankful you're here. And I'm going to edit the title of this to not say final episode.
That's my fault.
No, it's okay. No, we put it on social media too. I'm going to edit that because we're going to keep going with in some way. So,
Yes. I love
awesome.
2.0. We'll figure it out.
2.0.
Well, yes. Okay, great.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And Aaron, we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you all. It's been a joy.
Yes.
Yes. See ya.